So, as a child growing up in the Caribbean, we had this popular saying back in the 70s and the 80s. And the saying was, eat what you grow and grow what you eat. And the reality is that the first thing that we were good at in the Caribbean region was agriculture. Farming was second nature to us because the Caribbean region coming out of slavery into emancipation, and once we gained independence, farming was the go-to for us in the Caribbean. And from over 100 years ago, the Caribbean, we were able to feed ourselves in the Caribbean. So it is such such a disheartening feeling that in 2025, when you look at the landscape of the Caribbean, when you go into the supermarkets, when you go into the markets, and you see that a lot of the products that we have in the Caribbean, they are not from the Caribbean. Simple thing as farming, we're getting onions from America, we're getting onions from Mexico, we're getting garlic from China. And the thing is, the disheartening thing about it is that if some logistic problem should take place in 2025 with ships coming into the Caribbean, we would probably starve to death because we are not feeding ourselves. And the thing is, it is so obvious that our leaders, the leaders in the Caribbean, have failed us big time. The politicians in the Caribbean have failed the people of the Caribbean big time because the basic responsibility of a government first to make sure that the people have food and clean water, basic. And I know people will say like, oh, that is the responsibility of the private sector and so forth. But no, that is the responsibility of the government. In any developed country that you see in the world, the government is always there making sure that farming is operating to a certain standard. There are a lot of grants in Canada, in America for like dairy farmers, for like potato farmers, like anything that the government of these countries deem as very important to feeding their society. They're always there in terms of grant and making sure that these farmers can be funded. So our politicians have really failed us in the Caribbean. And this is not rocket science because, as I said, as a child growing up, we used to feed ourselves in the Caribbean. I remember back in the 80s, I think about 1988 after Hurricane Gilbert, when in that time we saw like America capitalism, the whole globalization push, and we saw a lot of American products coming into the Caribbean. And I remember as a young man in Jamaica at the time, there was commercials on TV because of this whole globalization and free trade, and a lot of like junk food from America was started making its way into the Caribbean. I remember seeing commercial on TV. We had one TV station at the time, TVJ, and I remember seeing commercial on the TV urging Jamaicans to buy local, to buy things at the market, to support local, because the fact that American products were flooding the market. So in 2025, the fact that when we go into our supermarket, like, as I said, 70% of what we see in the supermarket is coming from outside of the region. When you go to the market and you see American apple, you see grapes, before you see mango or sapodilla and those local fruits, you're seeing American apple. It is not a good feeling. So with this 10% tariff that the Trump administration placed on all Caribbean islands, I am hoping that this will light some fire under the foot of the leaders of the Caribbean so we can get back to where we were in the 80s, get back to farming. And since the announcement of the 10% tariff, I've been looking out to see reaction from the leaders in the Caribbean. Dickon Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, is the first one that I saw step up so far and talking about farming in Grenada, and not just farming for Grenada, but to supply other Eastern Caribbean islands. So this is what the Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, had to say.
And so I want to challenge your agronomists to be more ambitious than just saying in 3 years' time we'll have 100 and the capacity to do 185 plants, because there is a lot of idle land in Grenada. A lot of land that has not been planted since Hurricane Ivan. That's 20 years ago. And so there is significant opportunity for us to ramp up production throughout the length and breadth of Grenada.
The Prime Minister further urged the agronomists to think beyond supplying Grenada alone.
And I want to emphasize, we are not just planting for ourselves. Within the OECS and the wider CARICOM region, there are countries that are even more vulnerable than Grenada because, for example, places like Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, they don't even have water. Almost all of their drinking water is produced via reverse osmosis. And so we have to appreciate that we are in a unique position to not just plan for ourselves, but to plan for our brothers and sisters in the region who may not be able to do so. So I don't want us to limit our ambition to just attempting to satisfy our needs.
Here at Carib 21, I'm on a mission to showcase the vibrant culture and the breathtaking beauty of the Caribbean while showcasing our culture and what is trending. If you want to support me on this mission, please subscribe. And if you also want to support, you can hit the comment section and buy me a cup of coffee. In order to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow these instructions. Just click more. You will see the link to buy me a cup of coffee. Click the link. You can purchase 1 or 2 cups of coffee and you'll be helping me to fulfill this mission. Thank you. Okay, so that was the Prime Minister of Grenada. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know what you think about this topic in terms of eating what we grow and growing what we eat. Is it possible for the Caribbean region to get back to the 80s, to the 70s, when agriculture was a big deal in the Caribbean and we used to eat healthy in the Caribbean? Because the thing is, a lot of these products coming into the Caribbean are genetically modified, and we have seen the increase in certain like health issues in the Caribbean because of the things that we're eating now. And you know, as a young man growing up, like I remember like even rice and peas was just on Sundays. We didn't eat a bag of rice like every single day. So we're having like banana, boiled banana, yam. We're having dumpling. We're having tonka meal. We're having a lot of ground provision. Like during the week, we had a lot of ground provision. On Friday or Saturday, we used to have soup. Friday, we had some jerk chicken with some bread. But when you look at the Caribbean diet now, it is like an American/Caribbean diet. Like it's like 50-50. A lot of the stuff that we're consuming now is like made in America. And if you show people yam now, like they're like, yam? I'm not eating that. Or banana, like ground provision. People are not eating those type of things anymore. So guys, sound off in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that the Caribbean region, that we can get back to those glory days when we used to feed our own people? Let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.